Hi, my name is Kathy MALEJANE. I am the village chick with plenty chic. Hashtag letebelelelentsunyana la masodi ampela. I am here talking on the Can We Talk series, which is going to be coming to you very, very soon on Robbie Rob Radio. Be sure you catch it soon. I think my journey is only beginning because I think it's only now that I'm starting to take ownership for my life. I think that's one thing my mom didn't do, and it hurts me so much every time I see her put her power in someone else's hands. Because when you victimize yourself, oh, they did this to me and this happened to me, you take the power out of your hands. I wish everyone could realize that you have your own power and take responsibility. You will have that power. So as I've gotten older, I've started to do that. I've started to try and make healthier decisions. I've always been into gym and working out, so now I'm finally shifting my focus to food, because that's been always been my biggest challenge as far as my health. So those are things that are gradual. I don't expect to just stop eating chocolate. So that's not going to happen, maybe not now, but I am trying to substitute it, more and more with my fruits and whatever. So it's a process and it's a journey. It's something that you need to commit to for life if you're interested. Ultimately, what you asked me earlier to say, can you do it for anybody, or can you help? Like, unfortunately, everybody needs to take responsibility for themselves, and no matter how much you love and support someone, if they don't decide for themselves, there's not very much you can do. Everybody chooses their own approach to this, and I would definitely encourage everybody to decide for themselves what works for themselves. Personally, give me the herb any day, give me the tea any day, give me the natural substance that I can see and I know is coming from, nature, and nurturing my own self, finding out what's wrong, healing from within. That's what I'd rather do any day, rather than getting a drug which is only going to mask the symptom and maybe after a while even give you side effects. And I mean, my mom was on medication, and I think she was, maybe I get that kind of thinking from her, because it made her sleep all the time. She was just lethargic, and then it made her gain weight, and she hated it, and so she got off it. I wouldn't necessarily agree with just deciding I'm not going to take my medication anymore. I would, if that was me, I don't know, I'm not her. I haven't faced those same demons. I would say, Kathy, you're going to sleep by 9, you're up by 6, you're working out, you're eating healthy, you're drinking those smoothie spinach shakes, doing everything I possibly can to maximize my body working right so that my mental state can get better. The closest that I recall feeling super, super low, and I'm saying, I go through this regularly, but I have ways of dealing with it. But the most where it was a lot. I think at some point where you start thinking suicide, and you're thinking, why am I alive? What have I done in my life? Is this it really? But being unemployed, because there was a moment of about a year where I had been fired from Duma FM right before I got hired at Gabs FM. So about a year. And thank God for, the small things that happened, because then they became really big. And I've always been big on small things. So during that time, I recall, first of all, I was broke. And so when we talk about unemployment in this country, I feel like the youth especially know exactly what this feels like, because being broke, having nothing to do and nowhere to go, those things where you wake up and you're like, can this day end already? It really gets to you. You feel you have no energy. Your body will hurt. If you don't exercise, if you don't do something, you're going to then start having the after effects of sitting down and doing nothing. Your body is going to hurt. You might end up starting to overeat or eat the wrong thing. You're going to then deal with the after effects of that. So it's a point in time where you just feel so low, you feel worthless. This is what it was like for me. I felt so worthless. I had a loan that I needed to pay every month, and literally every month I got diarrhea month end because there are people like Big Fish, and I can never talk about him enough because he's somebody who would call me and say, hey, and just those small things are what helped get me through, because otherwise I was literally waking up, and because I wanted to give myself something to do, I would clean the house. I started a backyard garden. I just made sure I didn't sit down and do nothing, because the whole sitting down and doing nothing and feeling like you can't do anything, you are not worth anything, it makes you ask yourself why you're alive, and that hurts. That I think is what makes people then decide, I don't need to be here. I grew up in Botswana where we're told we don't air our dirty laundry. So also wanting to keep my mom's issues private, it wasn't so much that I was shy or embarrassed, but it was just, this is something that I still hope and pray that she'll snap out of it and decide, you know what? I mean, that's the conversation I've been having with her while I've had her now the past 3 weeks. Like, stop being a victim, just get up, And I still think that she can, and I pray that she will. But it wasn't my story to tell. And so now, in hindsight, thinking about it, 10 years ago, I debuted on radio, and that was one of the first things I did. 10 years later, I've had this issue for myself. So in a sense, I do have a story to tell now as compared to back then. And, one of the things that I've been thinking about recently a lot is the fact that I've always tried to stay very down to earth. I'm a very conservative person now. I think back then I was a little bit more free-spirited and outgoing. But nowadays, I really love my own privacy. And radio is great because people don't know you. And, I've always called myself, one of my favorite things would be, and so people are expecting a dark person. A lot of the time when we will be at outside broadcasts and somebody will come to whichever station and say, I'm looking for Letebelele Ntsunyana, and then they just see this person and they're like, re batla Letebelele Ntsunyana, and Letebelele ga le le Ntsunyana, le le sweunyana. But I loved that. It was fun. I enjoyed the anonymity that radio provided me, and I enjoyed the privacy that it provided me. And I also believe that it's been my journey. That was what was meant to be. I have grown in the ways that I needed to grow and matured in the ways that I needed to mature. And looking back now and trying to regret anything, it's pointless. So where I am, I'm thinking greater things are going to come, because we can only get better. We can only do better. And in fact, one of my best mottos or sayings that I got, especially during that time when I was broke, unemployed, I remember thinking that if you reach rock bottom, it's brilliant, because you know why? There's nowhere to go but up. So, hey, I'm going up. As far as relationships, I really think that it's between two people. So, my idea is not going to be anybody else's idea. It's simply going to be mine. And it's a matter of being with somebody that agrees and or is compatible with whatever it is I'm thinking and wanting and so forth. So with regards to, being depressed and being in a relationship, I am more and more, like I said earlier, realizing the importance of my feelings. And the more I am finding my voice, because for a long time I just told myself, just keep quiet. You're overly sensitive. A lot of the time I've really thought that about myself, and so just kept quiet. But now, as I learn to speak the truth, as I learn to voice myself, my thoughts, it's really empowering. And more than anything, apart from looking for that comfort and that support outside of myself, I think it's so important that I'm learning that it is within me. And I think the best piece of advice I can give somebody who is in relationship and wanting to get support from their partner, or scared they're going to burden their partner, all I can say is keep nurturing yourself, keep feeding yourself. One of the principles that we are taught to a lot, as far as my faith, is that you are meant to overflow. Your cup is meant to overflow. And for too long, I thought that meant I needed to give. And that, I think that's one of my biggest blessings and my greatest gifts is I'm such a giver. I will give you my last 20 pula and be broke. But as I've gotten older, I've learned that you need to fill that cup and then have it overflow. And that is the best kind of giving, not where you're sacrificing and then you're left with nothing. And then you're feeling like, oh my goodness, I don't have anything. It's so terrible and tough here. And God, where are you? Instead of doing that, overflow, fill yourself up, and then you will see it all flowing out of you. So if you can learn how to nourish yourself, don't depend on your partner for your happiness. That's not your partner's responsibility. And that took me years to learn, that I didn't love myself enough. So there's nobody who's ever going to love me the way I needed to be loved, because I didn't love myself. And that is one thing that I think we miss. And people are scared to be alone. I love my own company. I love being alone. And I think too often you just don't want to be by yourself. You don't enjoy your own company. And so how is anybody else going to enjoy your company? Some of these things, if you just take the time to love on yourself, to give yourself, some of these things it will just flow naturally. That's the best advice I can give. I think the best cure to depression is to laugh. And I know a lot of people actually laugh to mask it. I love the idea of healing it. And I definitely know that one of the ways of healing it is to laugh. In fact, because I do vision boards as part of my New Year's resolutions, one of the New Year's resolutions or things on my vision board is play equals healing. Playing equals healing. And playing involves laughing. For me, playing involves, I love dancing. I'm into belly dancing. So I've started mixing belly dancing and yoga. And there's a type of yoga called booty yoga, not booty yoga, booty, like B-U-T-I yoga. And that brings joy to me. That is important. If you find that you can diagnose any part of you that's depressed, look for the things that make you laugh. Actively seek them and laugh. I promise you it'll help. So that is definitely in the cards. I think the first thing that I would say is you are not alone. There are so many people who felt that way. I have felt that way, not just once in my life, at least 3 or 4 times. So just know that you are not alone in having felt like life is not worth living. And just know that you are loved. You are so loved. There are so many people who might not be expressing it to you that are so much in need of who you are. And also, you're here for a purpose. There's a reason why you were born. God placed you on this earth for a reason. So you deciding to end it now is going to be robbing yourself, your children, the people around you, the world of your legacy. Because if you think about anybody great, anybody that you admire and love, your Oprah Winfrey's, your Maya Angelou's, your Nelson Mandela's, your anybody that you think is an amazing person, you will find that those people went through so many challenges. So it's your job to find what makes you happy and do it. Find it and do it as much as you can. It is your job to decide for yourself. Nobody can make that decision for you. You need to decide for yourself that you want to change whatever the situation is. And there are so many things that you can do. Even if you are so broke, you can take a walk, you can run, you can do yoga, you can do some sort of exercise. You can decide not to eat junk. You can decide to talk to somebody, because talking to somebody will make you feel better. Find somewhere where you can get some counseling. Find a cousin, a friend, somebody who will speak to you with empathy and understanding, and that unburdening yourself, offloading whatever it is that is hurting you or making you feel like life isn't worth living. You will realize that that person can assist you. Offloading will help. And in fact, a lot of the time when you look back at whatever it is that had stressed you that time, you look back and you think, that why would I ever think that? So I hope you can get to that point where you're looking back on now and telling yourself that that was silly.